Hello, movie review fans, and welcome to another movie review. So yeah, after the horror and agony of You've Got Mail, we're now reviewing something which doesn't make us violently ill. Split Second is a B-movie gem featuring the wonderfully insane and talented Rutger Hauer. Interestingly enough, has Kim Cattrall. The movie is an interesting mix of horror, action, thriller, and it is, despite being a B movie, is actually relatively well made and has a fairly interesting plot. It's the future, and thanks to global warming, the world is being covered in water. Not to the lengths that they are in Costner's Waterworld, but basically London is flooded, and the flooding has increased London's rat problem, which is kind of hard to believe considering how they've already taken over the underground. But anyways, other than that, the future more or less looks plain and fairly mundane. Ironically, this isn't a negative thing. I mean, since it's 2015 and things more or less kind of look the same as they did back during the 90s, unlike Back to the Future's portrayal of our future, which is a shame, really. I could really use a hover car. Ironically, the year of the movie is 2008, and after some creepy music and some text explaining things, we see a hovercraft tearing it up over the River Thames, with a score that is equal parts Terminator and, well, something else I can't quite put my finger on, but it's total B-movie class. Over-dramatized and very cool in a bad way. We then cut to our hero Stone, Rutger Hauer wearing quasi-futuristic boots and leather and armed to the hilt and wearing shades, of course. So Stone drives around, the music's blaring, and we hear something about rats on the radio. Plot point? Nah. Anyways, he pulls up and sucks on a cigar, and then we hear a heart beating away. Stone walks to the nearby club where there seems to be some naughty dancing going on. Said naughty dancer isn't exactly a stunner, mind you, but never mind. After toying around with said dancer, Stone orders coffee at a strip club, because, that's the kind of thing you order at a strip club. And then he makes a phone call whilst the hot blonde goes for a wee. The heart beating builds, the dog barks, Stone wants his fucking coffee, and we see the blonde woman looking terrified before screaming. So Stone tears away from the jiggly booby fest and bursts into the toilet to find her on the floor with her chest torn right open. Wow. And pretty good effects too, kinda. There's I'm back written in blood on the mirror. Plot point's really thickening up here. This isn't going to be a boring B-movie schlockfest after all. After some more interesting plots about his partner's death, we find out that Stone's the best because, he's Rutger Hauer. Anyway, Stone throws a fit and then makes a coffee of about half a pound of sugar in it and then bumps into Uber actor Pete Post... how the f*** do you pronounce his name? Pete Postlethwaite or... Post... Anyways, you know the f*** I'm talking about. So Stone sits with the chief and gets chewed out, of course, and is introduced to Detective Dick Durkin. Yep, Dick Durkin. So after an amusing rundown of Stone's arsenal and Rutger's humorous delivery of his lines, he steps out and receives a package, a big metal case. So in true Jack the Ripper style, they open the chest to find it full of ice with the girl's heart with a sizable chunk bitten right out of it. I've got to say, this is starting to kind of kick ass, So Stone goes back to the crime scene and lays on the floor, and as the owner comes along with a sawn-off shotgun and they exchange pleasantries. After which it seems the killer has struck again. So Stone and Dick Durkin, race in their police jeeps to the scene of the crime. They arrive and find another poor sap with their chest stripped open. Once again, nicely done gore. Stone knows the time of death, answers a question of Durkin, before blowing away a big-ass rat and staining poor Dick's suit. Then Stone finds his partner's gun, and they notice the ceiling has an occult symbols scrawled over with blood. Stone mentions that the killer must be 10 feet tall to have stood on the bed and painted it. Well, that's kind of creepy. So after a run-in with Stone's buddy, he looks at the imprint of the teeth that they took from the heart, and boy, are they creepy. They're certainly not human teeth. So Stone suffers an obvious panic attack, then screams, "Show me your face." Then weirdly shouts out Foster for some weird reason before firing off some rounds in the air. The cops come and point their pistoles at him. Durkin backs them off, and then we hear the heart beating and the heavy breathing of I'm guessing, the killer at this point. I've got to say though, the pacing it's pretty neat thus far. It's pretty cool. Back at the station, Durkin tries to get info from Stone, which proves futile initially since Stone's not really that much of a charmer. They go to the shooting range, where Stone proceeds to shoot the shit out of a wooden target. And Durkin talks police babble about theories, and then Stone calls the killer a beast and shows Durkin the mold of the killer's teeth. So Stone ditches Durkin by throwing his Lex Luger keys into the water. Very nice little 90s reference there. And goes to the London necropolis, where Kim Cattrall is there wearing a raincoat, and it seems pretty much nothing else. Ooh, yeah. So the conversation between the two is, well, very... I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Kim Cattrall, but, she doesn't get cast in movies for her acting chops, per se. Nonetheless, she's a nice touch to the movie. So we see Stone's apartment, and in true Hero on the Edge fashion, it's a shithole. Stone and Kim, her name's Michelle in the movie, but I'm just going to stick to calling her Kim. They talk minor plot points, mentioning Foster's mother and whatnot, because clearly this, Kim is Foster's girlfriend or wife or whatever. So Stone falls asleep, and for some reason the melody from Nights in White Satin from the Moody Blues plays in the score. Admittedly, it's kind of neat. It's a nice piece of music, but it's kind of confusing. I mean, why Nights in White Satin? Anyways, cut to the flashback scene, number 1, which doesn't reveal much. Then Stone wakes up with a pigeon on his head. You gotta love a movie that doesn't really take itself too seriously. So Stone steps out and, in true hero fashion, ties sleeping Durkin's shoes together. Then sounds a siren, so Dick tumbles out and gets wet. Childish, but like I said, this stuff is kind of amusing, and it's kind of funny to kind of see these kind of things in a movie like this. So Kim wakes up, uncovers a motorcycle in Stone's apartment, and then eats a chocolate that he's smudged into the fridge. Very, very hygienic. Then Stone and Durkin get breakfast in a bar where the original Nights in White Satin is now playing in the background again. What the with this film and this music? I have no idea what the relation is. So Stone wolfs down an unhealthy and greasy but obviously tasty English breakfast, and whilst he's doing that, Kim gets her clothes off and takes a shower. Clearly, this is why Kim is in this movie, some B-movie sci-fi boobage, Whilst that's going on, the killer takes a gun and heads into Stone's apartment. Stone passes the rest of his breakfast to Oxford boy Dick Durkin, and they talk about occulty type stuff. Then, more boobage. And then finally we get a call of an intruder at Stone's place. And he gets there quickly to hear a scream, and Stone storms in to find his bike running, and after the tension builds and he goes to the shower and rips it open, he finds a naked Kim, which is, very horrifying, of course. And it turns out she was just screaming because the water got cold. Judging by her boobs or her nipples, that might very well be the case. Then they hear another scream and storm the apartment. Well, Dick goes in, kind of lethal weapon fashion, ignoring Stone's count and for some stupid reason running in and standing there like a fucking melon. Poor old Durkin is blown out of the window by the killer, who we see for a split second, holding Stone's shotgun. All I can say is that is one hell of a shotgun. The blast sends Dick flying through the window, which in all honesty, I'm guessing at point blank, actually, that would do that. It'd probably rip you into pieces as well, but still. The killer is able to run through doors and seems to be black and shadowy and very cool. The cut here is a bit awkward though, and it cuts from that kind of bursting thing to just Stone finding a corpse in the bathroom. And then he kind of walks in back to his place and finds Kim crying, said that the killer, or a monster I guess at this point, bit her on the shoulder. So outside they take Kim and the corpse, and Stone tells the medics that the killer used his hands to rip open the girl's chest. How he'd know that? Well, we don't know. Either way, it's not a big deal. He starts to hyperventilate and has a full-blown anxiety attack. We cut to the rest of Stone's dream at this point, that flashback, where Foster falls into the floor, and out of where he fell, a huge black thing emerges from the floor and whizzes by, then scrapes his arm. So I guess that's how he knows that the killer used his hands with the girl. The scar on his arm is quite nasty, and Dick mentions to him, and yet, believe it or not, he's actually alive despite being blown to shit. Bulletproof vests. But that the scratch on Stone's arm is his psychic link with the killer. So after smacking good old Oxboy in the face, he talks to Foster's buddy, Pete Post-Whistly Whistle, who tells him that the gun had traces of rat disease and Foster's prints on them. They have a tense moment together, of course, until the chief calls him into the office. Chief asks Stone how he unloaded a clip at the killer, and yet he's still alive. And Durkin comes in with a bad look on his face. They talk about DNA and how the killer has the DNA of all its victims, and rat DNA too. So Durkin mentions to Stone that DNA-stealing rat killer didn't get the heart of its last victim, and that they run to the morgue. Out of my way, you f***s. So the morgue is full of nasty bodies, as one would expect, and we're treated to the thumping heartbeat soundtracky thing. Durkin closes in on the killer, only to find another uptight, posh Oxford boy. Seems like going to Oxford is a waste of time if you want to land a good job, eh? They find a note from him, and blood dripping, then the ceiling starts to wiggle about. Then it crashes down, and whatever this thing is runs around at inhuman speed, ripping through a steel door. At this point, Dick loses his shit, and rightfully so, and mentions that they need to get bigger guns. Big fucking guns. It's quite amusing to say the least. Dick drinks a coffee and Stone gives him some chocolate and asks him if he really does get laid every night. Typical, kind of cop buddy banter humor stuff. So they hit the armory and run through what's available, and after some crappy guns, Durkin picks an assault shotgun fully automatic. It's basically a minigun from what I can see. It fires 650 rounds a minute, because that's exactly the kind of weaponry a police armory should stock. They take two of them and some explosives. Clearly, cops need those for crowd control. And Durkin rants on about nonsensical plot points, and the chief finds him walking around with miniguns, and Durkin rants more about it being the year of the rat, and the chief is amused, especially when Durkin mentions something about the being emerging with evil, and the ultimate evil is Satan, and the chief then pronounces them as both nuts, then rants and finishes with the pair of pricks, which is quite frankly genius B-movie dialogue. So they go to Stone's and have coffee, or they plan to, until Stone opens the fridge and finds the woman's heart on a plate. I have to be honest, this killer really knows how to piss off anxiety-driven people. He's very good at it. They find Kim washing in the tub because she touched the heart for some stupid reason. Then we're treated to another lousy plot point of Foster's mother killing herself. Who gives a crap? We didn't even see her. She's not even in the movie. We hear Nights in White Satin again in the film for the third fucking time. And Kim passionately calls out for Harley. Yep, Stone. Harley Stone. Come on, what did you expect, Alice? Durkin mentions that the bite means that she belongs to the killer, and then he goes outside. So Stone goes out to find Dick and wanders around and finds his glasses and just, typical kind of blah, 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 kind of bantery, crappy Ola. So at this point, they go after the killer because who's kidnapped Kim, and they now have to go into the underground, which has been abandoned and is maintained by the eccentric rat catcher. So they say to the rat catcher they need to go to Cannon Street, and he says it's a bad idea because it's closed off, and people that go there don't come back, and blah blah blah. And so yeah, they walk around a bit, and Durkin falls into the same spot the way that Foster did, but he comes out just fine. Then they open a door and find the rat catcher dead. Durkin loses his shit, and then Stone tells him to listen to the heartbeat because he can hear it. So it's like, come on, Oxford boy, you're a smart man. Plus you have big fucking guns. Get it together. So we're treated to the same screaming sound event throughout the film, and we find Kim hanging from her hands in a circle of light. Unfortunately, she's got her clothes on, though, so yeah. Anyways. The next part is a bit weird. As she runs on top of the train, the creature's hand pierces through the top of the train and slowly starts chasing after her. Doesn't really make much sense since it could obviously just jump up and completely catch her since it's so damn fast. I'm not entirely sure it insists on further mind games, but end of the day, the effect is kind of creepy and it does look kind of chilling. They open fire with the unusual sounding miniguns. I'd think something with that kind of rate of fire would sound a lot more vicious, but never mind. And the killer does a swan dive into the next part of the train. So Stone sees the next part as completely dark, and unlike most idiots, rather than go in, he says, sod it, I'm just going to shoot, and finds out that he's run out of ammo. Wow. Who would have thought it, eh? A hero running out of f***ing ammo. In what is probably one of the most confusing moments of the movie, after Stone kind of peeks in and turns around, he says Foster for the second time in the movie. I mean, seriously, what's with that? Anyways, a gust of wind blows, then the creature emerges and eerily places its claws on his head and removes his glasses. Then creepily rips his ammunition harness off and chases after him, tripping him over with a low blow. And then stops for some reason when Stone points his empty minigun at him. So Durkin shoots at the ground, and the killer moves back, and then they throw in a grenade, and Rutger lets off a one-liner and dives out, and it explodes, and Harley and Kim kiss because, that's the perfect time to be doing that kind of thing, kissing while the devil's just standing in a train, right next to you. Stone then grabs a power cable and walks up to the train, puts the cable in, and says, relax, pal, to the clearly injured creature. Durkin flips a switch, sparks fly about, and basically they electrocute the poor bastard, and at that point the creature lunges out of the train and is about to stab Stone's heart out. That is until Stone looks at it weirdly and somehow overpowers it. Yes, I did actually say overpowers it. Rutger Hauer overpowers a 10-foot-tall brick shit house rat mutant thing, which is supposedly the devil. And then proceeds to punch his hand into its chest Kano style from Mortal Kombat and rips its heart out. So Durkin wastes the heartless body with a minigun, and then Stone pulls out his handgun and blasts the still beating heart, which is in his hand. I guess he's not worried about muzzle flash or anything like that. So they walk off, and then we see bubbles from the water hinting at something that perhaps it's not dead, or there's another one, or God knows what at this point, I don't know. They ride in a speedboat as Durkin narrates some nonsense about the forces of darkness, and Stone tells him to rightfully shut up. And the film ends. So in conclusion, this movie certainly deserves its cult classic status. The actor roster is pretty impressive, to say the least. Kim, Rutger, Pete, even the Chief. They're all doing the best they can with the script and making it more fun and not taking it too seriously. So it's pretty cool. Also, despite the budget, the movie captures a certain futuristic vibe that isn't forced and is believable-ish, which is always a plus for a B-movie. I have to say the killer is pretty damn cool, although the design of the head is a bit peculiar. It's a weird mix of aliens and a rat and something else, and as I kind of jokingly pointed out in the pictures, it has that kind of Venom kind of esque look to it. So with it being all black and muscular in appearance, it's an uncanny resemblance, to say the least. I'm not sure if the movie's lack of an explanation of the creature is a good thing or a bad thing. Initially, you think it's a person, but then perhaps it's a mutated person from the diseases they mentioned. Then there's a hint at the supernatural. But despite speed and power, there's nothing supernatural about it per se. I really doubt it's the evil one, as it were. Especially considering how he had his ass handed to him by an out-of-shape guy in the end. But still. There is the weirdness that it did all the kind of mind games and all this stuff. So there's something that hints at a psycho toying with its prey. But it's also clearly not human, and... I know, and more importantly, why would it toy a stone, and what's its motivation? I mean, there's a lot of questions. Also confusing why Stone keeps calling out Foster's name, not once but twice, as if to hint the creature is actually Foster. Which makes no sense, since it actually killed him, and although we never actually saw that, we just see him fall down and it rise up in his place, so you could wonder about that, I guess. First time Stone calls out his name, we attribute to anxiety. Second time in the subway, he says it as if it saw it or felt Foster. Then the wind blew and the creature appears behind him, although that could have something to do with all that DNA business, or I don't know. Also, the fact that the creature didn't kill Kim and then just bit her and kept doing all these kind of things. I don't know. It makes you wonder about this whole fostery connection. I don't know, guys. But what do you think? Make a comment about what you think about this creature and whether it's Foster or not. Now, the movie obviously suffers from some bad editing and some questionable shots. For example, said beast is lightning fast. Yeah, he wasn't able to jump out of the water and grab Kim. Also, 1 minute's bursting through a wall, split second. Later, we see Stone walk into the bloody bathroom with the corpse in the tub, and also the Kano punch, the chest ripping out the monster's heart scene was a bit much. And how he managed to overpower the thing in the first place is just, I don't know. The whole thing's just kind of weird. And also, why is the creature for the fourth time not ripping him to shreds? And where did that chest wound come from? And why is it, Dick came face to face and he had a shotgun, and he didn't notice there was a 10-foot tall rat mutant with demonic claws. Kind of hard to miss, really, especially since it's right bloody in front of you, right to blow you to pieces. That itself is something I never really understood. Also, why would a rat mutant use a shotgun? Or how would it even know how to use a shotgun, which lends itself more to the theory of the whole human disease hybrid thingy, I guess. I don't know. I'd like to sit down with the writer and director and pick their brains about this stuff. Things I learned from this movie. The future is nothing special. The police apparently allow people with anxiety and neuroses access to devastating weaponry. Going to Oxford University is a waste of time. Kim Cattrall has pretty nice boobs for an older lady. If ever faced with anything 4 times my size, I can simply overpower it and rip out its heart. Heroes do run out of ammunition. It's common for people to be scared shitless, then crack jokes, and smile even though they're still in immediate danger from a monster that rips people's hearts out of their chests. And finally, don't rip people's hearts out of their chests because karma is a bitch.